A business transaction conclusion. Bueno? The small head nodded imperceptibly. Bueno, he repeated and smiled at the boy. Let's get you home, shall we? He watched the eyes slowly close and the head relax into the pillow. The water, laced with GHB, was reliable and quick. Closing the passenger door softly, he hurried to the driver's side. They needed to get the hell out of there. He hated rushing the first meetings with his beloveds, but this was not a safe place for illegal transactions. He got in the car, strapped himself in, and was exiting the alleyway in 3 seconds. He knew he shouldn't, but he just had to. It was like the steering wheel in his hands had a mind of its own. He told himself he was just taking the arterial Highway 3 to the tollway rather than the I-45 in order to provide a smoother and calmer ride for his passenger. As his red convertible traversed the Clear Lake overpass, a red Mazda RX-7 roared past from the opposite direction, followed by another, a red Italian sports car. He'd been watching the black and white patrol car coming up on his left, so he wasn't sure if it was a Ferrari, a Maserati, or even a Lamborghini coming from the north. He sighed in relief as the patrol car continued to pass him on the left. He watched it turn sharply left into the authorized vehicle use-only median strip. The light bar went on less than a second later, followed by sirens as the cruiser rocketed back onto Highway 3 going south behind him. He swallowed and purposefully unclenched his hands from the steering wheel, breathing in and out deliberately as he willed his racing heart to slow. Thank God Houston loved its red sports cars. He shifted his gaze forward as he merged into the interstate. No more dangerous detours. Time to bring his beloved home. Pre-flight jitters. I am dreaming. I was in the sanctuary. I was pacing, had been pacing evidently, as my awareness sharpened and focused on where I was and what I was doing. I let my feet continue their steady progress. Towards the door, turn. Away from the door, turn. My mind was empty. I'd been thinking in circles for hours when I went to bed until, eventually, I'd worn myself out and fallen asleep. I felt like a fly on sticky paper, frozen in mid-stride. I hadn't heard anything from the police since my last visit. I hadn't heard anything from Bob either, for that matter. Except for the mandatory greetings at work, it seemed like I hadn't talked to anyone in forever. And then suddenly, everyone called at once. Bob called. Would I be free this coming weekend? Nothing exotic this time, just some quiet space enjoying each other's company. It was such an odd phone call from him. I told him I thought that sounded nice and to let me know later in the week if he was confirming. Then Detective Lucero called and asked if I wanted to meet with him to go over the lab results of the lens. I said sure, of course. So now I'm supposed to be there tomorrow, which is Saturday, at 10 o'clock in the morning. On top of all that, Tony had called me into his office yesterday to let me know they were having an administrative meeting Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and would I put that on my calendar. He'd like me to attend. So, yeah, from crickets to explosion. Or at least it felt like that. I had a feeling I knew what 2 of the 3 meetings were about. A call from my office might, just might, be about the promotion to assistant title officer that I'd been more than interested in. 12 years as a title secretary was long enough, don't you think? That would be a nice conversation to have. But what if it wasn't about that? What if... Nah, I didn't need to go there. Moving on, the police call now. That was really worrying me. Why would they want me to come in just to go over lab results? Couldn't that information just be conveyed by email? Maybe with a copy of the actual report, if I was lucky? But really, a meeting? The police were known for being cagey and withholding only but the barest minimum amount of information necessary, then assessing and evaluating your every response. Ugh. I was making myself crazy. I could tell my thoughts were just going nowhere but spiraling down. But really, maybe the police just wanted to give it a trial run. Wanted to try something on the down low, off the official radar, just in case things went sideways. I continued walking towards the door, away from the door. Then she was there. I could sense her joining the space behind me. I turned around to face her, continuing my forward pace towards the door. Hi there. How are you? I snorted and watched my feet move in her direction, turn, and walk away. I'm fine. Just peachy. Couldn't be better. How are you? How's things in the heavenly realms? The heavenly realms are still heavenly, thanks. Her smile was audible in her voice. You exercising here? Or trying to wear out a hole in the rug? Getting in my steps, 10,000 per day. That's what they say, anyway. I cringed at the rhyme. Have myself a bit of a dilemma here, you might say. Really? Anything I can do to help? Would you like to sit? I glanced at her as she waved at the cushion on the floor in front of the fireplace, then shook my head and went back to watching my feet move forward, one step after another. So, I'm meeting with the police tomorrow morning. Okay. To go over the lab results for the lens. Oh, I see. What kind of test did they do? I stopped and turned towards her. This, at least, was a conversation that I could have without my brain having a meltdown. They x-rayed it, did some kind of spectroscopy thing to find out what kind of stuff it's made out of and probably how old it is. They didn't take any samples of it or anything like that. I was there. I was the one that put it into and took it out of the machine. The lens never left my sight, I swear. That's fine. You did just fine. Don't worry about the tests. Her smile was reassuring with real amusement in it. Why is that funny? I was genuinely curious. Well, depending on the data they were able to retrieve from their tests, the results will be interesting. Definitely interesting, most likely. She grinned. Oh? In what way exactly? I asked. Well, I suspect they won't be happy with the results. Let's just put it that way. You have to remember that the lens is not something that someone just made for this situation. The lens was brought into your reality by you. What does that mean? I asked. Will they get results that say the lens is 1,000,000 years old or made from material not of this planet? I was really having a hard time understanding what she was trying to tell me. She laughed. Probably neither of those two options, but it wouldn't be surprising to me at all if the age and materials are a surprise to them. Don't worry about your meeting tomorrow. I suspect, just as you do, that they want to try out the lens and see if it works, and see what it does when it works. It had stopped surprising me that she knew my thoughts. Yeah, that's what I think this is about tomorrow. Will it work? What will happen? Can you tell me anything? She sighed, holding her hands out to me. I wish I could tell you everything that will happen from moment to moment so that you could go into your meeting with confidence. But that isn't possible, which you already knew. She smiled at me gently, lowering her hands. I know, but anything? Do you remember when you saw the hat box in the window of the antique store? She asked. Oh yeah, I remember that. I'll never forget that. How did you feel at that moment? How had I felt in that moment? Shock, for one, and terror. Absolute instant terror. I remember that. And somehow a sense of exhilaration, as if I'd moved from Earth 1.0 to Earth 2.0. I felt changed, I said. I knew that it was real in that moment. I knew my life was changed forever. I looked up at her. I felt scared and humbled. I don't know how I felt. I smiled and shrugged. Nothing there is, nothing I can tell you will make you not be scared. Scared is normal. It's okay. Walking into the unknown is always scary. But you know the lens is real. As to what to do and what will happen, don't listen to anyone but you. Your brain will tell you what it thinks. Your belly will tell you how it feels. Between those two, your heart will tell you what to do. Listen to your heart. Do what you think and feel is right. I nodded. Nothing I didn't know already, just confirmation of the path. Listen to me. Got it. I can do that. I smiled at her. Her eyes held me for a moment, and then I was gone.